Hello. This is a fun math investigation involving paper tearing, fractions, and iteration. I want to invite you to join me in this investigation. So I invite you to go get a piece of paper. It can just be a piece of scratch paper. 8.5 by 11 is fine, but any piece of paper will do. And I'm going to move through this fairly quickly, so as you're doing the steps, you might want to pause the video. So we start with our piece of paper. And this sheet of paper stands for 1. This is 1. And what we want to do is tear the paper in thirds, which is a nice little exercise. You kind of have to roll it and estimate and try to get it close to 1/3. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to get 3 layers and go ahead and crease it. And crease it kind of with your fingernails because you are going to be tearing it. And then you tear on your folds and you get 3 pieces of paper. This might be a good time to pause the video until you get your 3 pieces of paper. And then what we're going to do is we're going to label 2 of the 3 pieces of paper. We're going to label the left hand piece of paper 1/3, the right hand piece of paper 1/3, and we're going to keep the middle piece of paper in our hand and it's unlabeled. Now we're going to repeat the process. The piece of paper that's in my hand, I'm going to fold in thirds. So I'm going to roll that again, get it in 3 layers. I'm going to crease it real well with my fingernails, and then I'm going to tear that 1/3 into thirds. I'm iterating. I'm taking a process and I'm repeating it. Now, the question is, my little pieces that I have here, what fraction are they? You might want to pause the video and think about that. I have my 1/3 and it's been divided into thirds. So each of these is 1/9. I label the left hand piece 1/9, the right hand piece 1/9, and I keep 1 piece of paper in my hand. So I've got a pile on the left, pile on the right, and a piece of paper in my hand, and I iterate. I fold that into thirds, I crease it, I tear it, so now I have 1/3 of 1/9. You might want to pause the video until you get that torn and figure out what fraction each of these pieces is. They're 1/27. 1/3 of 1/9 is 1/27. My process is to label the left hand one 1/27, label the right hand one, and keep 1 in my hand. So I still have my 2 piles. And I continue. 1/27 divided by 3 is 1/81. That's interesting. I've got a nice little model of what 1/81st of a piece of paper is. You might think about that. If you had 81 pieces that size, it would be the full 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. I continue the process. 1/3 of 1/81 is 1/243. So I have a pile on the left, a pile on the right, and the remaining piece of paper is the 1/243. And I would continue this process. But since the paper is getting pretty small, I think I'm going to stop and we're going to think about it as a mental process. Once again, you might want to pause the video until you get your 2 piles and you're caught up. So let's think about our 2 piles and ask some questions. How many piles do we have? That's easy, 2. What's happening to each pile? And what's happening to the piece of paper not in the pile? Pause the video and discuss this with the people around you. The next question is, what fractions do we have in one pile? Let's just look at one pile and see what fractions we have. What pattern do you see? If this process goes on to infinity, one pile is going to be 1/3 plus 1/9 plus 1/27 plus 1 over 81 plus 1 over 243 plus and so on, and these fractions are getting tinier and tinier. There's an infinite number of fractions here. What will that total be? Well, it's half of a piece of paper, so therefore it's 1/2. We have just showed that this infinite sum is 1/2. This is a very neat thing because we have an infinite number of terms that are being added together, but the sum is finite and it's 1/2. This investigation can be done in middle school, high school, or Calculus 2 because this is actually a Calculus 2 question. As an extension, you might try to figure out similar infinite sums with other fractions. My name is Jim Olson. Have a great day.